Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Waalaikumsalam.
Waalaikumsalam. Welcome to the 15th Annual Online Seminar on English Language Teaching 2023 with the theme Literacy in Practice. My name is Eko Ridho Alreza and I will be the master of ceremony for today's online seminar. On behalf of the organizing committee, I would like to extend a very warm welcome to the Honorable Vice Rector for Academic Affairs of Mula Warman University, the Honorable Director of Mula Warman University Language Center, distinguished speakers, committees, guests, colleagues, and participants. Allow me to introduce you to our agenda. First will be opening session, and then followed by the main agenda, speech session by three distinguished speakers. First speech session will be presented by Professor Diah Sunggingwati, SPD, MPD, PhD from Mula Warman University. Second speech session will be presented by Mrs. Felicia Miranda Lakatompesi, SSMPD from University of Patimura. And the third speech session will be presented by Dr. Agis Andriani, SPD, MHUM from Siliwangi University. Each speakers will be given 30 minutes to present their subject and then followed by Q&A session for 20 minutes. This session will be guided by Dr. Syamdianita, MPD as the moderator. Our today's seminar will be ended with closing and photo session. Ladies and gentlemen, before we proceed to our main event, I would like to invite you to sing our national anthem, Indonesia Raya. While singing our national anthem, the audience is kindly requested to mute the audio. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Waalaikumsalam.
Waalaikumsalam. Welcome to the 15th Annual Online Seminar on English Language Teaching 2023 with the theme Literacy. Thank you very much. I would like to call upon Dr. Iwan Setiawan, MPD, to recite the doa. Time is yours, Dr. Iwan.
Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Dear participants and also presenters, to start our session today, let's start with the dua. And please allow me to recite dua in Islamic way. For non-Muslim, you can proceed with your own dua. Let's start with Al-Fatihah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Rabbuna arsyil azim. Salatan wa salaman ala rasulillahi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Allahumma firli wali walidayya warhamhuma kama rabbayani shaghira. Birahmatika wa bifadlika wa bi'aunika wa syafa'atika wa iradatika wa qadratik. Allahumma inna nas'aluka al-afwa wa sihata wal afiyata wa salamata fid dunya wal akhirah. Ya Allah, Ya Ghafur, we have entered this morning, and indeed we plead for goodness. With all the graces and gifts that you have bestowed upon us, we ask for the useful knowledge of understanding the literacy in practice for this morning, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, please bless us, Ya Rabbi. Allahumma ya muqallibal qulub, sabit qulubana ala dinika wa ta'atik. Rabbana dhalamna anfusana wa ilam taghfir lana wa tarhamna lanakunanna minal khasirin. Rabbana alaika tawakkalna wa ilaika anabna wa ilaikal masir. Rabbana taqabbal minna innaka antas sami'ul alim wa tub alaina innaka antat tawwabur rahim. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanah wa fil akhirati hasanah wa qina adzabannar. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun. Wassalamun alal mursalin. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Dr. Iwan Setiawan MPD, for reciting the dua. Moving on to our next agenda, it is my honor to invite the Director of Mula Warman University Language Center, Dr. Nur Rahmawati MED, to deliver the welcome speech. To Dr. Nur Rahmawati MED, time is yours.
Thank you, Mas Eko, as the master of ceremony today. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning. The Honorable Vice Rector for Academic Affairs, respected colleagues, distinguished guests, and language enthusiasts. The Language Center of Mula Warman University is pleased to host the 15th annual seminar on language teaching. We commence an endeavor of investigation and ingenuity, pulling our combined knowledge to inspect the core of language education, literacy in practice. In an ever more interconnected global society, proficient language communication requires not only rudimentary proficiency, but also an in-depth comprehension and practical implementation of literacy abilities. Educators possess a crucial responsibility in influencing the linguistic terrain of the future. Therefore, this seminar serves as evidence of our dedication to this honorable endeavor. We have the honor of hearing throughout the day from our speakers who will impart their knowledge, experiences, and innovative approaches regarding the incorporation of literacy into language instruction. Their expertise will function as a compass directing us towards language education methodologies that are more efficient and influential. The Mula Warman University Language Center takes a great pride in serving as a central location for this intellectual interchange, where everyone, instructor, teachers, various disciplines convene to stimulate dialogues, cultivate partnership, and make contribution to the continuous development of language instruction. While participating in these dialogues, keep in mind that our collective dedication to practical literacy is not merely an academic endeavor, rather it is a mission to motivate and enable future generation of individual learning language. I would like to extend my sincere appreciation to the Vice Rector for Academic Affairs for the supports, our distinguished presenters, attendees, and the committee who have tirelessly contributed to the realization of this occasion. Your attendance here today serves as an evidence of the significance you attribute to ongoing education and career development. We hope that the 15th annual seminar on language teaching serves as an opportunity for constructive dialogue, a wellspring of ideas, and wellspring of progress in our language classroom. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Norah Mawati, MED, for the very warm welcome. To officially open today's online seminar, I would like to invite the Vice Rector for Academic Affairs of Mulawarman University, Dr. Lambang Subagio, MSI. I will give the floor
Thank
to
you.
Professor Dr. Lambang Subagio, MSI.
Okay, thank you, Mas Eko. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, salam kebajikan, Rahayu. Good morning and very warm greeting to all the audience. The Honorable Ms. Dr. Norah Mawati, Director of the Language Center of Mulawarman University, the Honorable Ms. Professor Diah Sunggingwati, SPD, MPD, PhD, and then Ms. Felicia Miranda Leka Tompesi, MPD from University of Patimura, Ms. Dr. Agis Andriani, SPD MHum from Siliwangi University, the Honorable the distinguished guests, estimated colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, and all participants of this seminar national. Let us give thanks to Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, God Almighty, for the gift of good health today, so that we can attend to the seminar national, the 15th annual seminar on language teaching health by Mulawarman University Language Center. I am delighted to extend a cordial and enthusiastic welcome to all attendees of the seminar on English language teaching, where the designated topic is literacy in practice. As we'll convene today, we don't solely attend this gathering, rather we actively contribute to discuss the whole promise for influencing the trajectory of English language education. At this dynamic and ever-changing realm of language education, the significance literacy can't emphasize enough. Literacy serves as the fundamental building block upon which all the language proficiencies are constructive. Therefore, its seamless incorporates into pedagogical approaches in critical prompting on the holistic development of language learner. To the seminar serves the evidence of our dedication to furthering the domain of language instruction through emphasis on literacy on practice. Our objective is to investigate novel approaches, changing explanatory methodologies, and participates in reflective dialogue that will enable us in educator to effectively manage the obstacle and prospects that arise within our classroom. We are fortunate to receive as instruction from estimates, lecturer, and authorities who imparts vast amount of knowledge and expertise in fields of English language education throughout the course of the day. Their insightful observation will without doubt motivate us and furnish us with value context point that we can incorporate into our own pedagogical approaches. Apart from the informative presentation, I strong urge every participant to engage in discussion, contribute their experiences, and establish connection with the educator. Beyond the knowledge acquired, the genuine value of this seminar resides in the corporate ethos that we cultivate as interdisciplinary community of the community participant. Every one of you, including our benefactor and speaker, in my deep appreciation for facilitating an occasion. Your attendance at this seminar serves as evidence of your dedication, ongoing education and development. I have no doubt that the concept discussed here will continue to resonate in our classroom well beyond the conclusion of the event. Immediately and without addition, let us commence the expedition of investigation and relation. May the dialogues of today serve as catalyst for novel concept, establish linked and ultimate promote progress in the field of English language instruction with increased emphasis on practical literacy. And finally, please accept my thanks and with permission of all of us by saying Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. The seminar on the teaching of the English language is started. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Lambang Subagio, MSI, to officially open the 15th Annual Online Seminar on English Language Teaching 2023. Now we proceed to our main event, first speech session that will be presented by Professor Dia Sunggingwati, SPD, MPD, PhD as a speaker, and will be guided by Dr. Syamdianita, MPD as the moderator. So Dr. Syamdianita, time is yours.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mas Eko, as the Master of Ceremony. Hello, everyone. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning. Let me welcome you again to the 15th Annual Online Seminar on English Language Teaching, Literacy and Practice. So my name is Syamdianita, and I'm going to be your moderator for today's seminar. So in the seminar, there are 3 speakers, invited speakers, and before having what the speakers are going to be about, let me first read their bio, short bio. So for the first speaker, Professor Dia Sunggingwati, SPD, MPD, PhD. She is a senior lecturer and has been teaching at the English Department, Faculty of Teacher Training Education, Mula Warman University, Samarinda, Indonesia, since 2001. She has published her She has published her work in local, national, and international journals, and her current research interests are ELT and professional development. She enjoys working with and providing workshops for English teacher organizations. Ms. Dia is going to talk about introduction to literacy. Without further ado, I would like to welcome and invite Ms. Dia Sunggingwati. Time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Ibu Samdianita. Now, could I have share screen, Ram?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Ibu Samdianita, is my clear about
Yes.
the slide? Okay.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, Bapak Ibu, mungkin sebagian dari mahasiswa. Thank you for joining my session today. Before I start my presentation, I would like to revise a little bit what Ibu Wati already said, that we are not the expert here. We would like to say that we were going to share what we have just learned about literacy, sponsored by PPG, PPG ya bahasa Indonesianya, PPG Department, Directorate General, and also from LPDP as the sponsored, and it was held by the University of Western Sydney University. So in this occasion, we would like to share what we have learned, that we highlighted some what we think it is important to be shared with you as the educators. Okay, so my title of my presentation is about just only the introduction. And for this introduction, it is much more on the concept or the framework, and then my colleagues, Ibu Feli and Ibu Agis, will continue with some practical things that the teachers or the educators can do in the classroom or in their society. So with the first definition, so what is literacy anyway? The basic concept of literacy is being able to read and write. But that's my understanding initially, prior the short course that I've got here. But and it developed as I learned about the course of the literacy. However, this definition from UNESCO 2023 shows that literacy has a broader concept or broader meaning. That's ability to identify, understand, interpret, create, communicate, and compute using printed and written materials. And again, it is related to the varying context that we apply. Literacy also involves a continuum of learning, and this enable individuals or learners to achieve their goals, to develop their knowledge and potential, and eventually they are expected to be able to fully participate in their community and wider society. So general literacy also can encompasses numeracy, which is the other side of literacy, and the ability to make simple arithmetic calculations. So this is what we are going to know a little bit, because I think everyone here in ELT concept, we are familiar with reading and writing and 4 skills, but in this we move beyond a little bit, which is broader. I think it is about literacy. So why do we need to learn literacy? Because literacy empowers and liberates people. Okay, and literacy involves lives by expanding capabilities, which in turn reduces poverty, increases participation in the labor market, and has positive effects on health and sustainable development. And I think regarding with the issues about gender, but if women empowered by literacy, they have positive ripple effect in all aspects of development. And also they have greater life choices for themselves and an immediate impact on health and education for their families, and in particular for the education of girl children. Still, this is from the UNESCO 2023. So this is quite broader general definition of literacy and also the effects of the literacy. So here, now we start from the theoretical perspectives of literacy. We have two major models of literacy: autonomous model of literacy and ideological models of literacy. Autonomous model of literacy, it can be pointed out as understood as discrete, measurable, and standardized skills. And it is often independent of social and cultural contexts, which is, we slightly disregard about social and cultural context, which is happening in the society. And then learn and thought as a form of individual development along a carefully charted and predictable trajectory. And also in autonomous model of literacy, it is based on the linear straightforward process and ways of reasoning. It is also examination oriented, and it is well known as a school literacy. So I can say that this is much more on formal literacy that we usually assess in schools. The second model is about ideological model of literacy. So this is more than individual skills only, and it is related about ideology. So, and also it is value-laden. It imbues values in how and what people read and write in people's lives. It sanctions some ways of reading and writing and marginalizes others. So it is culturally embedded in social practice, and it encapsulates within cultural practices and power. So these two model of literacy, because otherwise, if we do not define this, we probably in ELT context for myself, it's quite difficult to understand what is literacy unless we divide this into two, like ideological model and autonomous model of literacy. So here we have literacy practices, that the social activities as part of what we read and write. So what are the practices of literacy? We can see here from the references, social activities as part of we read and write. The second one is about people who write and read, and the meanings and intention they bring to this event. We also have cultural convention and social rules that govern our behavior in a literacy event. And also social and constitutional context within which reading and writing takes place. So this is the scope of literacy practices, dealing with reading and writing, and dealing with the concepts, and also dealing with culture, and also dealing with the context and social rules. In social practice, we have 6 principles of literacy as a social practice. And these principles are based on the references of Papen 2005. So we'll have a look one by one. Here, literacy is best understood as a set of social practices that can be inferred from events that are mediated by written text. So basically, it is about social activities that involves reading and writing, and also communication. So being able to communicate what you read and what you write. Okay, and also here, literacy practices deals with what people are doing with the text matters. This including the meaning, the intention, the motivation, the attitudes, the ideologies, and values underlying the text that shape people's behavior in a literacy event and understand what is happening. The second principle is that there are different literacies associated with different domains, like people read and write differently for different purposes in different contexts and in terms of culture and social context. So literacy at schools, in communities, at home, or in any other domains of life, I think it's also meaningless to use literacy as a single or singular term when literacy are diverse and vary from time and place. So I think in ELT, especially in English, we much more focus on this because read and write in English classrooms, in Indonesian context, and we use the language in order to understand reading and writing of the text. The third principle is that literacy practices are patterned by social institutions and power relationships, and some literacies are more dominant, visible, and influential from others. Different dominants of social life exhibit different dominant literacy practices. For example, schools teach academic literacy, which is in our course, we talk more about academic literacies, that including plagiarisms, how to read the text, and how to cite the references. That's included in part of the literacy practices. And also, there is also that literacies that are not associated with institutional culture, but with literacy events. And this is what is given is about, like TikTok, which is quite familiar now. The fourth principle is that literacy practices are purposeful and embedded in broader social goals and cultural practices. So literacy practices has a purpose, has a goal, objectives. So it is not only about reading and writing for nothing, but it is purposeful. So texts are vary according to different situation and cultural factors, and the effectiveness of the text is judged according to how it fulfills its social, personal, and academic purposes. And the fifth principle is that literacy is historically situated. So here is about home literacy events in their early childhood, our early childhood. And then the literacy practices continues in community and social practices and develop into our adulthood. So also here shows that literacy also changes in the whole culture over a long period of time. Probably, digital literacy was not familiar about 20 years ago, but now it's very common, I think, and everyone is familiar with digital literacy. And the last one is about literacy practices changes. And the new ones are frequently required through processes of informal learning and sense making. Here, like digital technologies create changes in literacy practices. And then now I think in education, as particularly in ELT context, we are challenged with the artificial intelligence, which to some extent dominates some of the classroom activities. So these 6 practices of literacy will guide us some of activities that we can do in the classroom, in the school context. Okay, now the last part of my session is about types of literacy. This is what I haven't got yet from the course, but I found out that types of literacy, as it go beyond the basic meaning of literacy, being able to read and write, I found out that it is very interesting and allow me to think over about the 6 tenets of literacy practices into different contexts that I found from, this is from the government of Canada. Types of literacy, we have reading and writing, we have numerical literacy, digital literacy, health literacy, financial literacy, media literacy, cultural literacy, and emotional and physical literacy, which is I found quite interesting to have a look little bit about this. This is the common definition of reading and writing that we have known, or I explained before. And we have numerical literacy, which covers about understanding charts, diagrams, and data, solve problems, check answers, explain solution, and use logic. But at least everyone needs to know about numerical literacy. We also have digital literacy. I think most of you are familiar with the TPAC. I think one of the lecturers here are very expert in their TPAC here. We have digital literacy, is being able to critically use the technology and to navigate through various online forums and devices, understanding how technology works, and creatively and intentively manipulate technology to solve problems. So digital literacy is basically use technology to solve problems and express yourselves. We have health literacy. This is something that quite new for me. Here is literacy is about medications, communicating with doctors and specialists, and getting the necessary help. Because he is saying that having poor health literacy skills is dangerous and can result in taking incorrect medications, trouble following instruction from your doctor about lifestyle, food and referrals, and missing appointments, and so on. Which I think it is also need to be given to our students about health literacy. Financial literacy, it is related to numeracy, understanding how finances work and applying them in our life, and then being confident to make important decisions related to your finance, and navigating financial system institution, and making the best use of resources you have to financial. Media literacy, this is related to being able to understand about the message on television, radio, video games, movies, news programs, and social media. And cultural literacy, ability to understand subtle nuances, understanding the language, methods, assumptions, and unstated ideas that make up a way to behave and to communicate. Because by cultural literacy is one way to avoid misunderstanding and communicate well with people of other cultures. And this will make us become more empathetic and aware of others. This is emotional and physical literacy that to some extent will influence our literacy as a whole. Physical literacy is a repeated use of fine motor skills, balance and confidence movement, and the enjoyment of being able to move with skills. But this is very important for early age because this allows children to learn and think more easily. Okay. However, improving physical literacy is important at every age. And how do this relate to emotional? Because having competent physical literacy is a fundamental tool for the development and expression of emotional literacy, which is to some extent will have an impact on your life. So from this different type of literacy, I think teacher educators, or anyone who is interested in education will be able to select, which one related to their context, because by knowing different types of literacy will provide us some ideas and some motivation to improve literacy in our context. Okay, and there is some references here, and then would like to thank to Program Beasiswa LPDP, Direktorat Jenderal Guru dan Tenaga Kependidikan, and also Western Sydney University, because this course of literacy were sponsored by these three institutions. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much, Ms. Dia.
Thank you, Monica.
Ms. Dia has already given us insight in what literacy is, its effects, its theoretical perspectives, including its models, and also its practices, and moreover, the types of literacy. I would like to later on invite the second speaker, because we are going to have the question and answer session in the end of the presentation of the three invited speakers. So let me first read the short bio of this second speaker. Ibu Felicia Miranda Lekatompesi, SSMPD. She took her undergraduate education in 2002 until 2006 at Petra Christian University, Surabaya, at the Faculty of Letters, Department of English Literature, with a specialization in linguistics. Her master's degree is in English education, was taken in 2008 until 2010 in Universitas Pendidikan Indonesia, Bandung. She has been a permanent lecturer at Patimura University in the FKIP at English Language Education Study Program since 2014 until now. Her research interests are applied linguistics, assessment and evaluation in ELT, materials development in ELT, and teaching English for specific purposes. Courses that she taught including language testing and assessment in ELT, curriculum in ELT, sociolinguistics, psycholinguistics, basic linguistics, survival English, public speaking, educational language development, ecotourism, English for chemistry, and English for biomedical science. Well, let me then welcome Ibu Felicia. Ibu Felicia, you will have 30 minutes, moreover. So time is yours.
Thank you very much, Ibu Moderator, for a very great welcome. So, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, please allow me to share the screen. Okay.
Okay, great. Yes.
Okay. Is it visible, Bapak Ibu?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great honor for me to stand before such a distinguished audience today. And I would like to extend my gratitude for the committee of Mula Warman Language Center for giving me this opportunity to speak in the 15th annual online seminar in ELT. Okay, before I start my presentations, the moderator has introduced me with my background, and let me also give a very brief introductions about my campus. So probably for some of the audience here, it's a new university sounded in your ears. So I'm coming from University of Patimura in Ambon City, Maluku Province. It's one of the eastern city in Indonesia. And as you can see here, this is an icon of our icon in Ambon City. We call it as Jembatan Merah Putih. So it bridging one place to another one. And our university is located in this place. Yeah. Okay, so we need to cross the bridge from the city to the Patimura University as the main campus. Okay, this is our building, the main building in Poka, and I am currently teaching in English Education Study Program in another building in the city as well. All right, that's a very brief introductions about my university, and as have been informed, I would like to share with you about literacy in multilingual community, as have been informed previously that I am not the expert on the literacy, but I do believe that through our collective knowledge, the experience and insights, we can not only deepen our understanding, but also pave the way of meaningful discussions and collaborations. And without any further ado, let's dive to my topic. I'm excited to share about literacy of in multilingual community, and with the three outlines or agendas. The first one, I'm going to discuss a little bit about language literacy and educations, mainly focus on facts and challenges. The second point is about the importance of literacy in multilingual context. And the last one is strategies to promote literacy in multilingual classroom. So basically, the third point is just an introduction that will be deepened, discussed by the third speaker, Ibu Agis, for the practices. Yeah. Let us start with the first the point about literacy, language, and educations, about the facts and challenges. Like Ibu, as have been mentioned by Ibu Dia, that there are two approaches to understand the literacy. I mean, that we have the autonomous literacy, we have the ideological literacy, and from this condition, we understand that there was a shifted paradigm from the traditional view of literacy to the 21st century approach. So when people ask us about literacy, what do you understand about literacy? Most of us will directly answer that it is about the ability to read and write. Yeah, so that's a very fundamental one from the social practice. But then, because we are in the 21st century, there will be a demand to have more advancement in teaching and learning process. So the expert tries to see or explain, explore the notions of literacy from another point of view. So it is about the ability to use language and multiple modes to read, write, listen, speak, view, represent, and think critically about ideas. So it seems that it doesn't merely focus on the reading and writing ability, but mainly also emphasize on another important skills that we need in 21st century, specifically for the students. Yeah, UNESCO in 2004 strengthened the idea, as have been mentioned by Ibu Dia, that literacy is the ability to identify, to understand, to interpret, create, communicate, and compute using printed and written materials associated with varying contexts. So it is not only about text-based, but then there will be varying contexts that we can apply literacy or integrate literacy in it. Looking at, speaking about literacy in multilingual context, we believe, we know exactly that Indonesia is one of the multilingual nations. People in Indonesia speak at least 3 languages, which is the local language, the national language, and also foreign language. 1 foreign language, but now most Indonesian people probably acquire more than 1 foreign languages, and that's a huge improvement in learning a foreign language. We need to admit that the existence of foreign language learning somehow has a certain impact to the existence of the local language or the minority language. So the data from Ethnologue in 2005, they provide the comparison, the data about the language existence in some of the Asian countries. We see here that Indonesia has a very high numbers. There are about 740 languages spoken in Indonesia, with various levels of vitality from safe, critical to endangered. So why I say this, because some of the experts also have conducted the research and proved that many local languages are facing extinction, about 30%, as mentioned by, as have been discovered by Kala, mentioned in Masrudin. And it also exists. In my area, in my city, in my province, some of the local languages probably has been endangered. So that is why not only in here, but in Indonesia, the government tries to also raise the awareness of maintaining the heritage language as well. Okay, why does it happen? When we look at the facts, why does the minority language or the heritage language get this endangered? There are several reasons due to this fact. The first one is attitude of the speakers. In 2019, I conducted a study about parental perspective and practice in maintaining the heritage language. It is a case study of preserving Ambonese Malay. And it is found that parents' perspective on the home language, their first language, derived or influenced the practices in maintaining the first language for the children. So when we relate to our context, when we are very proud learning foreign languages, and we feel like superior when someone are able to speak in English or in more than 1 language, it indirectly affects the existence. It shows our attitude to the language itself. So people will very proud to speak in another language, and that's why the first language or the home language becomes inferior. The other reasons is about there is also the existence of mixed inter-ethnic marriage. So the couples from different ethnical backgrounds finally selected which one of the languages should be used in family communication with the children or in their daily life. And there is also another reasons like migration for work, schools, and other reasons that influence the existence of our local language. Deal with the literacy. We cannot ignore the data that we have from the PISA result. PISA stands for Program for International Student Achievement. It provides a global comparison of education system and assists in making education policy decisions. And it evaluates students' subject matter knowledge and their ability to apply that information to real-world situation and think critically. And Indonesia is one of the countries that participated in PISA program in recent years, yeah? And the result from the PISA survey in 2019 found that Indonesia scored the lowest among participating nations. Yeah, we can see that China and Singapore are recognized as high-performing countries among the 2018 PISA participants. So that is the fact that has also become the challenges for us as the teachers, as the educators, to develop our students' literacy skills or competence. Okay, yeah. So based on this data, the fact, I'm interested in these pictures, yeah, which probably portray the real conditions of, sorry, I'm so sorry. That probably portray the real conditions of our students, yeah. So as we can see here that there are two groups of students, yeah. There are two groups of students. One group here are the students who are able to crossing across the bridge, yeah. They can study their mother tongue, yeah. They can study through their mother tongue. This is the mother tongue and this is the school. So they can cross the bridge because their instructions, their mother tongue is also instructed, is integrated in their learning instruction at school, yeah. While the second group here, the students has to study the foreign language. So probably some of our students here are this group, yeah. Although a foreign language is used, because we learned about the foreign language, yeah. Some of the students are able to cross the street. Are able to cross the bridge, yeah. But some of them probably need to face certain difficulties, yeah. Most of them are sink when passing the bridge, yeah. And this is and some of them also finally are able to cross the bridge, yeah. Are able to cross the bridge, yeah. So their learning achievement, this group of students, may not be as good as they could be had when they have mother tongue used in the language instructions, yeah. So this is probably the reality of our students, yeah. And from these situations, from this picture, I understand, I agree that becoming multilingual is essential. So nothing wrong with being a multilingual student, yeah. So it is not a must for students to only acquire one specific language in the classroom instructions, in the classroom activities, but give them a chance to improve their proficiency in acquiring multi-language, yeah. Becoming multilingual is essential because there is also the rights of minority language to survive. When the minority language is survived, then it is also one of the action to sustain the cultural heritage, language as a cultural heritage, yeah. And to accommodate this fact, we see that literacy is essential in multilingual communities. It is important to fostering communication, to preserve culture, and also to promote academic success. Yeah. We see here, yeah, that there is another portrait. So if the previous one, there are two groups of students trying very hard to cross the bridge, one using the mother tongue, one only facilitating with the foreign language. Now, we need to think, as the educators, we need to think how to bridge this kind of students, who are coming from diverse cultural background, who are coming from cultural diverse linguistic background. Yeah, so we are thinking about strategies to promote literacy in multilingual community. So I do believe that when we are searching, when we are learning, then there are multiple strategies, effective strategies that are promoted by experts to promote literacy in multilingual communities. What I'm going to say here is only probably some of the current issues that have become the attentions, yeah, by the educators nowadays related with the literacy. Yeah, the first one is appreciating students' funds of knowledge. Yeah, so funds of knowledge means this is first introduced by Gonzalez and Moll. This tries to identify connections between students' home experience and experiential knowledge of students, which can be valued as part of epistemology traditions of classroom. And the basic premise of this notion is that people are competent and have knowledge. So when we understand that students coming from the various cultural or even linguistic background, we have the understanding that they have the potential to learn. They are competent and they have knowledge, and their life experience have given them that knowledge. Yeah. So it emphasized the idea that students bring a wealth of cultural, social, and family knowledge to the learning environment. Yeah. The next one is embracing culturally and linguistic sustaining pedagogy. It stands, the abbreviation is CLSP. Yeah. So the culturally responsive teaching accommodates the dynamic mix of race, ethnicity, class, gender, region, religion, and family that contribute to every student's cultural identity. It uses cultural knowledge, prior experience, and yeah, the funds of knowledge here to engage in promoting academic achievement. Yeah, so this perspective, these approaches, these strategies tries to raise educators' awareness that students are diverse, yeah, including their language or linguistic competence. Okay, derived from those strategies, we come to the practices in the classroom from CLSP perspective. What can we do as the educators, as the teachers, to accommodate students who are coming from diverse cultural and linguistic background? The first one is develop a coherent language policy. Yeah, at the school level. Yeah, we need to understand that implementations of effective instruction for English language learner is not only the ESL teacher's responsibility. It is the responsibility of the entire school. So there should be like coordinations in implementing the curriculum. Yeah, so we cannot only rely on the teachers, but the schools should also support the practices in the classroom. Yeah, this can be implemented when there is also transmissions of Indonesia cultural values in teaching materials. We can use songs, we can use text, images, or vocabulary related with the students' cultural or linguistic background. So it brings like a connectivity between students' experience, students' backgrounds, with the content knowledge that have been discussed in the classroom. The second point is try to link the curriculum to students' prior knowledge, as I have mentioned previously. So the use of bilingual books, not only just to read, but then we can also engage parents, bring books to read with the parents at home, and then try to share the experience at school. And we can also facilitate students to use their first language in classroom activities. Today, we have a very updated issues, topics about translanguaging approach that gives a wide opportunity for the students' cultural background, linguistic background to be integrated in the daily, in the classroom instructions. So teacher can, the basic examples of the translanguaging that I also try to integrate in my classroom and has become one of the topic in our final project in the previous program, micro-credential, is try to engage translanguaging approach. We try to discuss a text, we discuss the topic in students' first language, and then after that they are being requested to present the material in English, in the target language. Why is it important? Because some students probably they are very fluent in expressing their ideas using their first language. Yeah, it is the case of language barriers. We as the teacher sometimes think that these particular students are unable to speak in English. That's our first assumption. But when we explore in depth, we will find that they know the content, but they are unable to speak in the target language because of the language barriers. This condition should be facilitated by the teachers, yeah, by engaging integrating their first language to facilitate the learning process. This is also one of the examples that our colleague in university tried to implement, and this book is written by Ibu Jenny, our members in the programs. Yeah, she and team wrote the Diclot Picture Storybook series of Moluccas folklores. Yeah, written in English and Ambon Malay version. Yeah, the title is about Cooper Crocodile, one of the famous tale in Ambon. And this has been written in English and also in Ambon version. Yeah, yeah. So it will be effective to also include the local content when teachers design the materials, not only text but also using the visual image to bridging the knowledge between the text and the real context. Yeah. So we have the very specific vocabularies like tagal itu ikan-ikan. Ikan-ikan, we call it in English, we say fish. Yeah. Laste, finally. So we use a very local vocabularies in writing the text. There's also some of the books that are written by my colleagues. Yeah. Try to sustain, maintain the use of the heritage language, but then can be implemented in the teaching of English. Bapak Ibu, the audience, today we have a very various access that enable teachers and students to read or get the very additional supporting references. Yeah, because I need to admit that buying books, children books, is not that cheap. I have experience when I and my kids visited Gramedia and I have to give a certain amount of money. Okay, this is our budget, not more than that, because that price is quite expensive for the books. That is the reason why not all the students get the access to valuable, to relevant reading materials that is relevant to the level of the students, to their ages and their needs to improve their literacy. And we're thankful that today we have the access, so we can get the free online books resources from Let's Read Asia, Literacy Cloud, and from Kemdikbud. So our ministry also have provided us with the online resources that we can access free. Yeah. Okay. So for example, like this, we have the range of books based on the levels from PAUD, elementary, junior high school, senior high school, until for the general readings. Yeah. So one in Let's Read Asia, there are specific categories. So we have folk tales, science, art, music, even critical thinking reading materials have been provided. So teachers can select which kind of the reading materials that can be used for the teaching purposes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So related to EFL classroom, all learners need extra support or scaffolding to develop their academic literacy. And learners who are developing an additional language, including foreign language, need more scaffolding and often for a longer period of time. That is why Garcia in 2009 tried to propose 5 scaffolding structure. They started with routines. So teacher established contextual and spatial instructional routines and language patterns. Yeah. So the language of the routines can be varied and respond to student interest and motivation, like I have mentioned previously. You can select what kind of the language patterns that can be that interest students to learn. And the second point is contextualization. Teacher use students' home language and cultural practices such as body language, the gesture, the visual, realia, technological enriched, graphic organizer, chart diagrams, and maps, just to contextualize teaching and learning practices. Yeah. The next one is the third structure is modeling. So teachers of all routines and language use as well as verbalizing the actions. So it is modeling the language. So students get the figure that can model the language for them. And the next one is bridging and schema building. So in these stages, having teachers build on prior knowledge by previewing the material to be taught. So it is like a reflection, review the materials. In the reviewing, we can ask students to, probably tell about the previous learning experiences. They are free to use their mother tongue, because I also experienced when I review the previous materials, most of the students directly answer in Bahasa Indonesia. And for foreign language teachers, it's a surprise. Okay, so how then we accommodate these situations? Multiple entry points, teachers allowing students to demonstrate their understanding in different ways and differentiating instruction for students with diverse characteristics. At this stage, we understand that students have different learning styles, they have different characteristics and ways of learning. So in designing activities, including the assessing the students, teachers should try to use multiple ways. So they can also accommodate students which is very introvert or extrovert students to still engage in the learning process. So those are 5 scaffolding structures that have been mentioned by Garcia 2009. And finally, we come to the conclusion that literacy are not merely reading and writing skills. The practices are influenced by social, cultural, political, and economic factors and entails complex social interactions. And we as the teachers, educators are working in multilingual classrooms where our students are using many languages for their preparation, their activities, and even in the evaluation process. Because of this, teaching literacy in multilingual classroom must shift toward a flexible multiple modes of pluriliteracies, or we can use like a multimodal literacy, in which teachers encourage students to use all their home language, community language practices to understand the school text. All right, I think that's all for my presentation. I do appreciate your attention and time, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ibu Felicia. Well, Ibu Felicia has given us information about facts and challenges in language literacy and education, and then also importance of literacy and multilingual concept, as well as strategies to promote literacy in multilingual classroom, and also the 5 scaffolding structures. Thank you very much, Ibu Felicia. Now, I'd like to invite the third speaker, The third speaker is Dr. Agis Andriani, SPD MHUM. She's a lecturer in the English Education Study Program at Siliwangi University since 2005. She has written book chapters, proceedings, and research articles published in accredited national scientific journals and Scopus Index journals, as well as popular articles in social and gender issues published in books and newspapers. Her research interests are in the areas of interlanguage pragmatics and discourse analysis. Currently, she is also an editor and reviewer of accredited national journals and one of the reviewers of the Matching Fund program at the Ministry of Education, Culture, Research, and Technology. Participants, please welcome Ibu Dr. Agis. Ibu Agis, you will have 30 minutes for the presentations. I'm going to warn you in chat box. Thank you. Time is yours, Ibu.
All right, thank you. Good morning, everyone. It is such an honor for me to meet you in this very meaningful event. And then also to the Vice Rector, and then the Director of Language Center, and then also the previous presenter, Ibu Dia, and then Ibu Felicia, and also my team here, my friends from the short course. There are Ibu Jenny and Ibu Fitrawati, and also the lecturers from Mula Warman University and the students from everywhere. We have the great team, actually, the committee from the West, from the Center Indonesia, and from the East Indonesia. It is completely multicultural setting, I think. Talking about literacy, this webinar is full of literacy source in the case of the participant who involved this event. All right, before I go to my focus, it's about literacy to reflection. I have highlighted the points from the previous presenters about the literacy itself. It is such a great starting point for me to begin my discussion or my presentation. The first is that what Ibu Dia said about literacy. Literacy is like a big package. It's like a huge package. Actually, it's not only the huge package, because it's so many elements inside of it. And then when we are talking about literacy, it's not only about reading and writing, because it's only the very traditional literacy. That's the first point. And then the second point from the second presenter, from Ibu Felicia, I noticed that literacy is essential in multilingual communities for fostering communication, preserving culture, and the most important thing, I think, related to the reflection in my discussion, that literacy promoting academic success. And then in this case, that the students' funds of knowledge is so precious. And at the end, to engage to my topic, I go back to what Ibu Dia said from her previous presentation, that literacy has a history. Yeah. Because reflection reflects a part of the history of the teacher's experience in the classroom teaching learning activities. All right, let me share the screen for my discussion today, for my presentation today. Everyone, can you see my sharing screen?
Yes.
All right, thank you. My topic for this presentation is about literacy to reflection. As I have informed, that my part is for the practice, how the literacy relies into our practice in the real life, in the real action, in the real context. Yeah, hopefully that you will be curious on it. Let's go to the first description. Yeah, I think it is still engaged to the previous let's flashback to the previous presentation, about literacy. That literacy enable individual to access a wider information and perspectives, and then reflection. There is a reflection that is interconnected to literacy. Why? Because in this case, that when we are reflect, of course, we have pause and then we aware about literacy itself. Yeah, in the case that literacy is so many types of it. It's not only reading and writing, but the most essential thing, in my opinion, that literacy can build our awareness to ourselves, who we are, who I am, and then what happened in our surrounding. In our context, it will be focused on what we as the teacher or as the student, as educator, done in our classroom. Yeah, how we realize our classroom management that really rich of the cultures, really rich of the source of the literacy from us, and then also from the students, as what Ibu Feli said, that we have the very multicultural students, even for the communication, even for the interaction, because in interaction, the teacher often use translanguaging approach. That's a nice topic to be investigated, in my opinion. When we involve translanguaging, we offer the students the condition when we as the teacher, as the lecturer, as the educator, is not only emphasizing on English itself as the tool of communication in the classroom. Based on my research, for example, that my participant teacher say that when she uses the first language to communicate in English classroom, she considers that the use of Bahasa Indonesia, for example, or the local language, for example, as the first language, is considered to give more motivation to the students to involve their participation in the teaching learning process. So why it can be like that? Because my participants say that if she is always using English, her student do not really intensively participate to the teaching learning process. They feel not confident, for example, because that the students not really sure whether their English is good, whether their English is fluent, or whether their English is correct grammar based on the grammatical element. So they prefer, or they will be more comfortable to use the first language to communicate the teacher, and they hope that the teacher to do the same, to communicate with them in the English classroom for the English subject, I mean. And then here it is about the reflection. Why the reflection is important? Based on Chan and Lee, here they stated that reflection influences and supports learning in important ways. I agree with this statement, because from the reflection, it is not only about the critical thinking. Why is it a critical thinking? Because there will be they will need the very multi perspectives from the teacher to focus on their problems, and then they think more, they think deeply about how to overcome those kind of challenges to find the solution. Why? In this case, the solution is important, or the solutions are important for the teacher, because for the future teaching, those solutions will a kind of source for the teachers to evaluate and then to determine, to plan the better performance for teaching, the better content to as the material for the teaching learning process, and then overall it is for the successful of the classroom management that will give the impact to the students in the relation to their academic success. So that's the point. And for the teacher, how about for the teacher? Why the reflection is important for the teacher? It will be about the teacher's professionalism. Yeah, when we are talking about teacher's professionalism, it will have many elements, and one of the element, I believe, that the interpersonal skill, the competence of the teacher in delivering what they are teaching can be through to make it to be greater and better is through making or writing the reflection. And here it is the proof for why is reflection can be considered as a part of the critical thinking. In this scheme, or in this picture, where and it is adapted from Miles and Spires, which is displayed in critical thinking of Western Sydney. You can see here that a reflection, or to reflect on your work and decide how to improve it in the future as a solving problem, is a kind of application of the critical thinking to practice, or in the case, it is a kind of doing. Yeah, the realization of the critical thinking, one of them is to do reflection. So probably some of you questioning, why should we reflect? It can be many needs for that. The first is can be based or can be influenced or can be caused by assessment itself. In a PPG project, for example, there is a subject, namely philosophy education. In the assignment, that students are asked to write the reflection, and then it is the part of the assessment for that subject. That's for example. And then for the teacher, talking about reflection, it can be what we have paused about something good, something right, something wrong in our experience or in our history, in our teaching learning process. And then, of course, when we are talking about something wrong, for example, probably it will be engaged to something that we consider as challenges. Or in other terms, you say that as a problems in teaching. Yeah, problem of facilities, for example, problem of motivation, for example, or something externally done, for example. Yeah. And then after we have got the new experience, it will be happen, for example, to the new teacher when the first time entering the classroom. Yeah, it happened to me in 2002, around 20 years ago, when I became a student teacher. In that time, as a volunteer in elementary school, it was my first time to teach, and it was such a great experience to meet the students who faced me for learning English, but they were not really know about English. What's a very challenging thing in that time for me as a new volunteer teacher. And then, of course, based on the reason for after get the new experience, it is also can be as some completion of the project. And then you can do reflection anytime you feel like it. Yeah. And how to do it? How to do reflection? Our guidance can be through what Baden said about the 3 what's. The 3 what's for critical reflection framework. The first, we focus on what happened to our experience, what happened to our history, our story about our teaching learning experience. Yeah. And then the next is about, so what about that? And then finally, it will be, now what? Yeah. So let's go to the first, what happened? This is the example of what I have done with collaboration with the teachers in Tasikmalaya here. I did a kind of community service who has the program about literacy in the relation of writing reflection. I involved the teachers, not only English teachers, but also the teachers from other subjects, from mathematics, from religion, from physics, from geography, from a history teacher, from Bahasa Indonesia teacher, and many more. Around 24 teachers who were collaboration in this kind of work. And let's start to the first reflection of what happened. Yeah. I quoted what we have done here based on our experience. In what happened, we can write or we reflect about just describe what happened in our experience. Here, the 2 examples from the parts of our reflection is how the writer here described that teaching English in elementary school, with the status in that time as a local content is so challenging with the limitation of the facilities and the challenging from the response from the students who were not easy to stimulate. And then also here, the teacher say that the challenging thing in teaching English is that the students are not confident while talking English because they feel ashamed, and then they feel not fluent to speak English with a limited vocabularies, and then they feel confused, for example, to deliver what they want to say because that limited of vocabulary. So that the point of what should we write in the first step of what happened, just describe of what happened in your teaching learning activities in the classroom. And then in the step what happened, we can write about how did it make you feel. In this example, I displayed to you with the story, with the teacher's experience about her beginning of her career. with the students' context, she faced the very contrast students' context. The first is the young learners' context, and then the second is adult learners. The problem here is that from the young learners in that time, because the teacher was the student's teacher who has a gap up the edge. It's not too far from the students. So the elementary students call the teacher as teteh. In bahasa Indonesia, teteh means teteh is bahasa Sundanese, and in bahasa Indonesia means kakak perempuan, or the sister. The students were not easy to call the teacher, the very young age teacher in that time, to say ibu, although the teacher called herself ibu. They call the teacher just teteh. That's something challenging in but in other perspective, it's multicultural. Probably, Bu Feli. And then when facing the adult learners, the elaters, or the calling to the lecturer, the teacher, ibu, that's not the problem. But the other problem is about the discipline, because the students feel that the lecturer was still young, just range for the 5 years older or 3 years older than the student. So negative vibes in that context. And then some of the students didn't really focus on this discipline, just laughing in the classroom, talking with fun with the friends, while the teacher was in the teaching learning process. So it's so distractive activity for the teacher. And then so what? The next step to write the reflection is so what? So what here, that let's rewrite about the lesson learned from what happened to us, what you have felt about the challenging, the problem, or something happened that you make happy, that you make, as I said, based on my experience, distracting. Here, let's state it, what implication, what, for example, here, the participant or the teacher wrote that he believed that the teacher, the lecturer, should be the model, the good model for the teaching learning process, should be the motivator, and then should be the profile that does not make the student afraid of. Probably in another case, or in certain contexts, there are the case that the teacher represent his performance into someone considered to be afraid by the students. So I think from this context, from this data, from this reflection, be the teacher who doesn't be afraid by the students. And then here it is, another reflection from so what. The teacher say that she wants to be adaptable to the classroom, to have the good classroom atmosphere. I think it is emphasizing of the previous topic from Abu Felicia, that we believe that the teachers, that the students, have the funds of knowledge. have their own experiential learning, have their own background knowledge that they bring to the classroom. So determining the suitable strategy, and then understanding the student's personality deeply, I think that will be important based on this lesson learned from the teacher's reflection. And then the last part of the step to make the reflection is now what? This is your plan. What will you do next? Based on your experience, based on what you have described about your challenging, what you have got from your challenging. So what will you do next? I think this is the most, in my opinion, that this part will engage to what we call as professionalism. Because from this, there is the perenungan, the reflection itself, that that the teacher will realize who they are. They have responsibility, they have the great role, they have the positive impact to education. And then in that case, of course, finally, they should focus on creating the good atmosphere to the students, and then doing this reflection as an effort to be the better teacher in their future teaching activities. So that there are 3 points, 3 parts in writing reflection. The first is, let's focus on what happened about our teaching experience, and then so what with that, and then let's end our reflection with now what. Yeah, those 3 parts hopefully can create a good reflection as the source of us as a teacher to have evaluation of our teaching activity. And this is my conclusion, that actually the reflection will be beneficial to explore our beliefs, our values, and of course our experience. Because I remember in the very beginning of the speech from the director of the language center, that we should have innovative approach. I agree with that, with Ibu Nur Rahmayanti, that we as a teacher should have the innovative approach. And I believe that from our through reflection, it will be the innovative approach. And then finally, and hopefully, we can reach, as what Prof. Lambang said in the beginning, we can reach a holistic development of languagepreneur. And then at the end, we can consider ourselves, hopefully, as professional teacher. I think that's all my presentation. Hopefully that this will be triggering us to the next discussion. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Ibu Agis. Participants, Ibu Agis has already given us what and why about literacy to reflections. She also talking about reflection to critical thinking, and then in the last part, she talks about how to reflect using 3 different points. So thank you very much, Ibu Agis. Now, we have already heard from the speakers, from the 3 speakers. Now I'd like to invite all the participants who want to raise questions for examples. You may raise your hand and then talk directly in the Zoom, and then, or you might also write down the question in the chat box. Please. Is there anyone? Colleagues and students, you might write down your question in the chat box if you are shy to open your cameras. Okay, while waiting, let me give, let me ask one question to all the presenters maybe, because when you are talking about the literacy, we know exactly that nowadays literacy is very important for our students, right? For the students, not only for the students, but also for the teachers, because you're talking also about the teachers. Well, it is related to Ibu Felicia's presentations when she talks about, when you're talking about embracing culturally and linguistically sustaining pedagogy. Ibu, how can we implement this in our classroom? I mean, we're talking with not only the younger learners, but here in, for example, in Melawarman University, we are talking with the more adult learners. So how do you think we can implement this cultural and linguistic sustaining pedagogy in our classroom? Thank you, Ibu.
Okay, thank you, Ibu Syamdianita, for the questions. Okay, so if I can answer the questions, talking about culturally and linguistically sustaining practice is not, when we go deep into the notions, then we realize that this is not a new topic, this is not a new issue, but then we are strengthened to raise the awareness of the existence that our students coming from the diverse cultural backgrounds and also linguistic backgrounds. So if we relate with our context of teaching for the adult learners, so like what I have mentioned before, we need to aware that students have diverse funds of knowledge. They have diverse language competence. They have diverse cultural experiences that probably influence them in language learning in the classroom. So, so let's say that students who are coming into our class have different language competence. Yeah. So when I relate to my classroom context, most of the students coming from rural area, coming from the village, and they have different gap with the students who are coming from the schools or graduate from schools in the city. So there is a huge gap between the learners. So in learning foreign language, it is quite challenging for us as the teachers to bridging this gap. Okay, one of the solution that I can give to this case, when we have the awareness that they have diverse backgrounds, then we can also integrate or integrate their first language in the teaching and learning process. Like what I have mentioned, the practices or the approach of translanguaging try to give the enlightenment that there is no wrong in using first language in understanding the content of the materials. So we can also ask students to discuss about the content materials in their bahasa, in their local language. And then after that, when we come to the big discussion, the general discussion, they are asking to present the result of the discussion in English. So that is a shift from, not in language shift, but this is the translanguaging practices. They use their whole linguistic repertoire in discussing about the content materials and presenting them the result in the target language. Yeah, I think that's what I can tell about these questions, Ibu.
Thank you very much, Ibu Feli. Now, I'd like to, is there any question from others? If it is not, I'd like to give another question, ask another question to the presenter. Ya, mumpung ada para ini apa yang kemarin udah belajar duluan, so we need to learn more from you, ibu-ibu. Okay, no, then I'd like to ask a question to Ibu Diah. Ibu Diah, yes, as Ibu Feli. Oh, sorry, Ibu Dia, sorry. This is the question first from the participant. Later on, I'm going to ask you. Don't worry. Okay. Well, Randi, Muhammad Randi. Okay, you may.
Yes.
Okay, yes, please.
Okay. Can you see? Can you hear my voice?
Yes, you are audible.
Okay. First of all, thank you for the opportunity that's given to me. So actually, this is it's a interesting topic today. So there's in the practice because we as a teacher or also as a student as a teacher, we must to elaborate in the classroom. So my question is about how we can elaborate our material to use the reflections is in the elementary school or the junior or the senior high school, because we know that we in the curriculum medica we have pre and post activity. So how we can divide our content in the beginning after the ending. And then also my second question is we know that in the Eastern Indonesia we have a problem in literacy, right? So how maybe from the Ma'am Agis or Ma'am Dia have suggestion for us as a teacher in the Eastern Indonesia how to develop our literacy in Maluku, for example, how to develop the young student or from the village, and also how the program or the innovative activities that we can use for improve our literacy. For example, in the multilingual or also in the reflection, how we can introduce literacy for them, right? Because we know just talking about the writing or reading, but it's very important. So you know, and also we can see that in the Gen Z is talking about the mental health and etc. It's a focus on the heart literacy, right? So how we can elaborate them to improve our literacy in our village or our city or our classroom, especially. So thank you very much.
Okay, so Randy is asking about how to elaborate literacy in the classroom or even later on in the city. Randy, are you a student?
For now, I'm a teacher right now.
Okay, so you are a teacher. So
Yes.
maybe this is for the teaching activities in Randy's classroom. Is there any suggestion how to elaborate literacy in his classroom? Ibu Agis or Ibu Dia or Ibu Feli, you may give your comments on this, please.
Me first.
Okay,
Ibu Samyani.
Agis.
All right. Hi, Pak Muhammad Randy. How long have you?
Hello, ma'am.
How long have you been teaching?
In the elementary school is 1 year, and then also in junior high school is currently is 2 months or moreover. Yes.
All right. Keep your spirit to have the commitment and progressively develop your career, your profession in teaching English. Based on what you have delivered to me about how we apply the literacy in the classroom. In the beginning, I have presented that talking about literacy is like a huge package. Yeah. So many things, it's a very wide topic actually. But what, based on my experience, I applied the literacy, for example, in the preparation before I teach. When I was in the first time for the teaching English, in that time, I always prepared the classroom expression. What kind of instructions, what kind of English in the classroom that I will use, that I will represent to my students. That's my effort to introduce English to my students consistently in the teaching learning context in my class. So I wrote the classroom expression and I practice it before I enter the classroom. So my students will see the English model from me. My English will be their source of the English literacy. That's the first. And the second, while I'm in the classroom, what I have prepared, what I have delivered to them. Of course, nowadays, there is the term about TPAC, technological, pedagogical, content, knowledge. We should be aware of that. We should be aware of that technology. Bu Feli have shared to us many links about the book source to motivate, to be as a recommendation for us as the teacher and for the students to learn. Ebook means we involve the technology in the classroom as a media, as support, as a motivation for the teacher and then also for the students to participate in the classroom well. But in my era, 20 years ago, when I was as a volunteer teacher in an elementary school for around 4 years, there is no sophisticated technology like now. I do the literacy to my students by giving their visual source about the object that I will teach to them. What kind of visual source? I made the chart in the paper and then often draw the picture on the blackboard, not the whiteboard, on the blackboard with the colorful chalks. And then after the teaching learning process, my hands are full of chalks, debris. That's but that's the effort for the teacher to prepare to treat the students about the knowledge through the literacy practice by showing the picture, by showing the media. And in the post activities of the teaching, what literacy that we have to do, or in the case here, I apply the reflection by questioning the students. I think this kind of reflection can be a kind of assessment, by asking the students of what they think, what they experience about the content, about the teaching learning process that they have passed in that time, what experience they have got after learning about the subject, about the learning about the content. And then what will they do next after knowing the content, after understanding the content? It can be directly to be asked to the students or realized into a kind of reflection assignment. It will be helpful. It will be the strategies for us as the teacher to make a kind of trigger to the students to involve in the literacy activities, whether it is reading and writing traditionally or building their awareness to their surrounding. I think that's all from me. And then Ibu Samdianti, I have something precious from Muhammad Randy. This is our work here that I have quoted in this presentation. This is my product, my product and my team products for the reflection. Pa Muhammad Randy, you can read the more detail of the teacher's experience here, the teacher's reflection here, and how do they overcome their problems, and then the plans to evaluate and to make a kind of a revision repair for their challenging in their own context. Not only in English context, but also from many contexts. Hopefully it will be helpful. And I need your contact, your address to send this to you. Committee, would you please help me to do this? Thank you.
Later on, the committee will help Ibu Randy, Pak Muhammad Randy. You may write out your address in the chat box later on and to the committee. Thank you very much, Ibu Agis. Ibu Dia, do you want to comment on this,
Yeah,
please?
okay. I just wanted to add what Ibu Agis already mentioned previously. I think to Bapak Muhammad Randy atau jangan-jangan mahasiswa saya. Okay, so Randy, I think I think I can give you the examples because as the beginning I said that as a topic of literacy is very broad, and then we are focusing on ELT context in which that it is quite one small part of the context of the literacy. Okay, so one thing that you can do in the classroom is through the text. For example, being able to read and understand the text using questioning strategy is also one activities of literacy. Okay, and when we are talking about questioning itself, there are some strategies that we need to that you need to elaborate more about the questioning strategies itself. That's one thing that I can tell you about what you can do in the classroom. And for the further question that you asked about what do we do in dealing with the literacy in society, I think because you are expert in English, okay, so I think, you know, in a society or community, there is also like kids, you know, around their mosque, TPA, okay, or, you know, there are kids, some kids, I think, in a Ibu Valley community around the church that they have, you know, Sunday activities, that you can do some literacy activities in this case. For example, because literacy dealing with the text. So what I can tell you, for example, you just bring one example of a story, a book story, okay, and then you just tell about the story like Bu Felicia already gave the examples about the local context, and then you discuss that, and then make meaning of that, make meaning of the story. Because in literacy itself, even we have the same text, I think the kids also will interpret different meaning of the text. And then the text meaning is derived from the understanding of the kids. So you make meaning. So even the same text, probably the meaning of the text understood by the students in your context probably is different from me, even though we have the same text. Okay, so make meaning of the text from your own kids that learn the text. That's also one of the activities that improve literacy. Okay, so this is very important because part of my reflection relating about this course is that in our society, there is a belief that it is better to ask questions rather than read the text. And I think to some extent, and then we have influenced that. So since we have in the early age of ourselves, so perhaps we are quite lazy to read, and we prefer asking questions. Okay, and this is part of our culture that to some extent influenced myself to be lazy in reading, rather than we prefer asking questions. It is easier and better for us, but actually this will influence us. However, this is a part of our culture that we cannot deny, we cannot avoid, but to some extent, it will influence us about the literacy practice. This is what I believe. And then what I believe that, you know, we need to reflect again, what actually happened to myself, what actually happened to our students, and then what actually the society influenced us about our literacy. That's what I can say, Bu Samdanita. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Ibu Dia. Now I'd like to go to the chat box. There is a question for Ibu Felicia from our colleague, Ibu Anjar. Ibu Felicia previously mentioned about translanguaging. How do we differentiate between the use of code mixing and code switching and translanguaging in pedagogical context? She asked because one of her students wants to do research on this, and she thinks it will the answer of Ibu Felicia will help with this research. Ibu Felicia, time is yours.
Yeah. Thank you, Ibu, for the questions. Okay, before I answer the questions, let me tell you that this is also my questions addressed to the lecturers from Western Sydney University when we enroll in the micro-credential programs, because I also teach social linguistics in my faculty. So I'm curious to know, because as long as we know that the notions about code switching, code mixing have implemented in the multilingual classroom practices. But then there is an issue, there is a new approach that tried to merge all these kind of the conditions. But let's say that I'm not that expert. I'm still learning, but then I'm trying to share what I understand about this issue. So to make it easy, to make it brief, to understand this issue, we can start it from the idea of diglossic or diglossic in sociolinguistics, where there are more than one language is used. One is considered as a high language because they are more dominant to be used in the communications, and one considered as low because very minimum uses in the consideration, or one is used for a very formal in a very formal context, and one is informal context. So there is a dichotomy between diglossic and also what would call it heteroglossic situation. So if I can say that based on several readings that we also read about translanguaging in cultural diverse cultural perspective. So code switching, code mixing, they try to separate the language. I mean that because there is one language is used over or dominant over the others. So when we use English and in Bahasa Indonesia, one is more dominant than the others. But it might be different with translanguaging approach. It sees from the holistic view of languages. So there is a dominance of uses in more than of the languages, linguistic repertoire of the students. They try to integrate all the potential the students have. So there is no separations of language in translanguaging. And if we see from the diglossic, like what I have mentioned, that code switching also based on the idea about monoglossic, diglossic, one is more superior and the others, one language is superior than the others, while the translanguaging is more heteroglossic ideologies. And to make it brief, because if we use code switching, we usually switch between or between or within the sentences. But it might be different with translanguaging. We use the whole language as a whole, as a linguistic repertoire. So like what I have mentioned before, yes, ma'am, is it switch or is it mixed? No, we do not use it because like the implementation that I have addressed, we discuss it wholly in your local language, and then when you are asked to present, then you can use the target language as well as a whole linguistic repertoire, not in the separations of the language or linguistic components. That's what I understand, Ibu, about this issue, and probably I will send the materials, some of the reading that can assist your students to internalize this issue to Ibu Dia, so she can also pass to you as well. Thank you. Yeah,
Thank you
hope-
very much, Ibu.
Thank you very much, Ibu Felicia.
Thank
Yeah,
you,
that's
Ibu.
the voice of Ibu Anjar. Okay, last question. This is for Ibu Dia. Based on the content that you bring, can you explain simply how you introduce multimodal literacy to the student who has not more experience about that in real action, within real action? Bu Dia?
Okay, thank you for the question. The person who asked the question.
Marles Mata
Ibu,
Tula.
Ibu or Bapak? Is it Bu Feli?
Bapak, Ibu.
Oh, Bapak.
Okay,
Okay.
Bapak. Is he also a teacher educator?
Not yet, Ibu. He's
Okay.
writing his scripts today.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay, so students as well.
Students.
Okay. Bu Samdianita, could I share screen? I don't know whether I can play a video or not this time.
Maybe you can, Ibu. Let's try. Don't forget to share sound ya, Ibu Dia.
How? Hopefully I can.
Try to share. Okay.
Yeah.
Just try. Okay. Oh, the
Hang on.
sound is not yet shared, Ibu. So you may go back again, and then when you try to share screen, before you share, there is a kind of button, share sound.
Oh, I should share screen and then share sound.
Before yeah, in the left, there is something that you need to tick, share sound.
Where is it? I don't know. This one? This one? No.
Before. So before you share the screen.
Oh, before I share the screen.
Yes, before you share the screen.
I stop screen and then
before you share, there is a button that you need to tick, a place that you need to tick, share sound in the left page, maybe. Can you see?
I have no idea.
Wait. So before you share the screen.
Okay, can I share
sound.
to you and then one of you there and then able to play the video?
Sure, Ibu.
Okay. Okay, I've just sent it to you, Bu Samdianita.
Wait a minute.
Okay. So the question from Bapak Marles, yeah. Okay, so how do you introduce multimodal literacy to students who hasn't had any or more experiences about that in real actions? Okay. My understanding towards your question is that too, whether it is about you as a teacher who doesn't have any experience about multimodality literacy, or the students are not exposed in multimodal literacy. So these two things that from my understanding toward your question. However, we're waiting for Bu Samdianita to play the video. This is what I do to my students in TEFL class, teaching English as a foreign language in class. And this is one way how to teach English, introduction to vocabulary, to young learners. So this is what I've done to my class. So you probably from what I've done here, you got some ideas. How do you teach multimodality literacy? Okay.
Can you hear the voice, Ibu?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
Bu Samdianita, could you make it wider? Full
Wait.
screen?
Yes. Okay.
Let's try dancing, twirl me round. I feel a tapping on the ground. Swing me this way, that way too. I love dancing next to you. Will you show me now? Show me now. Show me a V and finish with an E. Show me love and I'll feel fine.
We'll stay close and never part.
I'll always love you, cross my heart. Show me now, show me now, show me a V, and finish with an E. L-O-V-E. I love you and you love me.
L-O-V-E.
That's the way it's meant to be.
L-O-V-E.
I love you and you love me.
L-O-V-E. I love you, you love me. L-O-V-E.
Should I play all, Ibu?
Yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank
Okay, thank you, Bu Samdianita.
you.
Okay, I forgot about the question.
How to introduce
I
multimodal?
mean, the person who asked the question. Okay,
Marles.
Marles. Okay, Pak Marles. That's the example of I think multimodality that happens in the classroom. So the teachers can also teach the student not straight away to the song, but also from the alphabet first. And this can be from the early age of the students, from the word of L, O, and V, and E is also part of introduction of the alphabets. It is part of literacy activities that I think it is very useful. So the kids, or perhaps the toddlers, are not exposed directly into something formal, but such of a good introduction. So it is part of the principles of teaching for young learners that they are learning by doing. It is very nice because everyone can move, everyone can show. And you know what happened to my class? Even though they are at I think the third semester students, they are happy to do that in the classroom. Similar, doing the same thing like LOV in the classroom, and the class is very crowded at that time. And they wanted that not only once, but 3 times. Okay, so this is part of using multimodality in the classroom, that you use the song, you use your own way of teaching about the alphabets, and then you ask the students to do the same thing. And perhaps while they say LOVE, they also part of learning about how to pronounce that. So this is one example that I think also for Randy, that examples that you can do in the classroom, different of literacy practices in the classroom, that from simple thing that you can do in the classroom and outside of the classroom that relate about literacy itself. I think that's what I can say, Ibu Samdianita. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Ibu Dia. Okay, so a very interesting discussion. You are running out of time, more than the time for us, but it's shown us that how beneficial it is for the participants as well as the other colleagues. So participants, we have heard from 3 amazing speakers. Today, all of the speakers have shown us how important literacy is in our life. It offers the ability to identify, to understand, to interpret, to create, and to communicate using sources associated with various contexts. They also shown us that literacy practices are influenced by many factors, and teaching literacy in multilingual classroom must shift toward a flexible multiple model of pluraliteracies. And then literacy skills promote critical thinking, where in which it allows us as individuals to reflect on our teaching and learning activities. So participants, we hope you have enjoyed the seminar session and gained some valuable knowledge and inspirations from our 3 amazing speakers. Before we end these sessions, let's have a final round of applause, a big applause for Ibu Dia, Ibu Felicia, and Ibu Agis. Thank you very much, Ibu. Okay, moderator, I give it back to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Syamdianita. Now, I will kindly request it for Dr. Nur Rahmawati, MED, Professor Dia Sungiwati, SPD, MPD, PhD, Mrs. Felicia Miranda Lekatom PCS SMPD, Dr. Agis Andriani SPDM Home, all participants and committees to activate your camera and take a picture together. Miss Ame, could you please set it up for us?
Okay. I'm going to count from 1, 2, 3. Smile. Okay, please wait for a moment. Yeah. Now this is for the next slide. Okay. Excuse me. 1, 2, 3. Okay, done. Then Mas Eko.
Okay, thank you, Miss Ame. All right. Thank you very much to all participants. My deepest gratitude to all speakers for sharing your precious knowledge. Thank you, Professor Dia. Thank you, Mrs. Felicia. Thank you, Dr. Agis. Thank you, Dr. Iwan. Thank you, Dr. Wati. Thank you to all committees, guests, and thank you to all participants. Thank you to spend your morning with us. See you in the next event. Good afternoon. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
For all participants, please don't forget to fill the attendance list in a Google form. I already sent the link in the chat room. Thank you.